Hi, this is Kellie Cutsinger with Cleanly Consumed and Kellie Cutsinger Coaching. My YouTube channel is here to provide you with tips and resources and also introduce you to practitioners that have therapies that you might have not heard about. Not only do their practices offer services through in-person, but also virtual, which is great, especially right now during this pandemic. So today I get the opportunity to talk to Danielle and Bryan Mitchell about the 4 areas of health that their practice focuses on. So let's go ahead and get started. Keep in mind that I will have some notes and I will have some links on how to contact them and get started, some resources that they suggest down in the description. Thanks so much, guys, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, guys. This is Kellie Cutsinger with Cleanly Consumed and Kellie Cutsinger Coaching, and I'm so excited today because we have the opportunity to talk to Danielle and Bryan Mitchell with the Cognizant Group. So I've known Danielle often, we've been able to talk about referring clients to you for a while, and I've heard really great things just from people that I've met that knew you and knew your work, and you have a really great reputation and a great bedside manner. And I'm so excited to learn more about this new therapy that you're going to be able to introduce to everyone and I can share that with others. And because my whole thought is that unless you know of a therapy or a therapy or support that you can give, then it can't help you if you don't know about it. So I'm excited to learn more. So let's just go ahead and dig in and start by telling me a little bit about your practice. And we know in the functional medicine world that functional medicine practitioners always have a driven passion from either a personal experience, a personal health journey, or from someone that they love and their family or their friends. So let's go ahead and get started with a little bit about your practice and then what got you started.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about Cognizant. Maybe Bryan could tell you about our personal story, how we kind of got there. When we were starting Cognizant, the Cognizant Group, even thinking about what does Cognizance mean to raise awareness, I'm just trying to kind of figure out what is our drive and passion going to be. And it became pretty clear to us that the idea was to help everybody function beyond their current capabilities. And so for us, that looks like 4 different core areas.
Mm-hmm.
1, ABM neuromovement. 2, functional nutrition. 3, comprehensive counseling. And then the 4th is functional medicine health coaching. So that's kind of the 4 different areas of expertise that we focus on. And Bryan can tell you more about how we got into that.
And then so my side of it is the neuromovement side of it. And together we came to that through our son, who, when he was born, we found out he had multiple brain abnormalities. And they, for the most part, don't really have anything for you until symptoms arise. And then they have things that they do traditionally for different symptoms and things like that. But about 3 months in, we found out from someone that we teleconsult with in California about neuromovement. And so we had our son starting at 3 months because neuromovement seeks to upgrade the brain in its function, which then correlates with all the systems, obviously, of the person. And so you see these developmental things come about, and it's not so much a wait and see what goes wrong and let's see if we can do something about it, but let's give the person the greatest possibilities they could possibly have in order to hopefully avoid a lot of those things as well. And in addition to seeking to see if we can correct some of the things that come about along the way. So
Tillian's story for us was this embodiment of what we had thought would always be a good idea. But my background is a dietitian. I've been working as a dietitian for almost 15 years in functional nutrition and then in counseling, my second licensure. And then we had him, and it was this amazing opportunity. I mean, not that we experiment on our son, but it was an amazing opportunity to really live out what we've been teaching families all along, other families. And for us to see with this child, we'd had a neurotypical child before him.
Right.
And so to see with him how we could really support his system using nutrition, and he's in counseling, and then also using neuromovement. So he's been a really fun embodiment of the work that we do and hope to do with other families too.
Oh, well, I remember when I met you, it was, I believe, at a microbiome gut restoration event, and you had your 3rd in your tummy.
So, that's right.
Yeah, it just was so fascinating talking to you there. Okay, so let's talk about how does the health of, well, I just brought up the gut, but how does the health of the gut affect like support and healing and absorption of nutrients, and how important is gut health? And how do you address that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think starting backwards, if you talk with someone who suffers from any sort of a mental illness, depression or anxiety, if you talk with families who have, children with special needs, maybe kids who have, some sort of autism spectrum disorder, you'll hear a lot of families or the individuals themselves talk about the dysfunction that they experience in their gut.
Mm-hmm.
And so, ancient physicians would even say that the gut is known as the second brain. There's a connection between the brain and the gut, particularly through the vagus nerve. And so when we see dysfunction happening in the brain or with neurotransmitters, not all the time, but likely, more often than not, we can connect those things with dysfunction going on in the gut, whether that is from motility issues, things not passing through as quickly, or if it's from a microbiome standpoint,
right.
Not seeing appropriate growth of positive or probiotic bacteria and seeing overgrowth of dysfunctional bacteria. So I think, it may sound overkill to say that it's everything. The gut is not obviously going to heal it. When we heal the gut, we're not going to heal everything, but I think it's really a place to start. Foundation is the core of where we've got to start. Exactly.
Well, when life first begins, you have, the heartbeat, but you have the gut and the brain, and they communicate. And so I was just wanting to bring that up because I know that you can address that nutritionally with your 4 parts of your practice, and then target that and support the body while you're supporting the neuromovement and everything else that you do. So
yeah, that's definitely one of our biggest hopes, is that as one practice able to kind of serve 4 different purposes, that we don't have to have someone come into us and say, look, we have this one option for you. If you don't want to do it, we can't help you. But it's really kind of meeting the person where they are.
Right.
And that we like to think about is, how do we help the person co-create a plan with us instead of us being the experts, giving that plan? How do they come in, whether it's starting with the gut or starting with neuromovement or starting with some counseling, just to support the family.
That's wonderful, because I know some people that have been on health journeys for so long. I have referred some out to practitioners that have a good understanding of functional medicine. It's something hopefully that's growing, because that can be hard for other people to find counseling that has a good understanding of finding root cause issues for something that's been long-term, whether it be an injury or Lyme or something that's been long-term growing. So I love that you offer counseling too. So that's wonderful. What are your thoughts on alleviating as many toxins from everyday sources to help facilitate and support healing?
I'll say it very simply.
Right.
If I'm able to help clients do so, to eliminate toxins, the word detox is so tricky because it means so many different things to different people. But I always would prefer to help clients appropriately detoxify, as long as that's not adding to their anxiety, right? So we kind of have to weigh out how clean, if you will, how much can you remove the body burden in your lifestyle without creating a burden on either relationships or your finances. So I think as long as we can weigh out that balance, again, it's so important to create that foundation of a cleaner system, but we have to, I think, be cautious in making sure that we're not, eliminating important social relationships or creating a burden on people's finances in doing so. But I do think it's vital.
We're laughing because we get it, like we understand, So you have some people that go cold turkey and just want to do everything. I'm like, let's take baby steps. But again, that is why, like, your 4 pillars of your practice, it's good to have the counseling background to guide people and encourage them, and the coaching side to make them successful. Because what clean, removing toxins looks like one person is different than another. And then detoxing is different, like what we were saying. And I always say, do not try a detox alone without a practitioner. If you have especially if you have a diagnosed underlying health condition. So That would also be you. Okay. So in our family, we have a relationship with sleep apnea, and I have had my eyes opened a lot to small airways and how that affects focus and the brain and growth and a lot of different things. So how would your practice support someone that had sleep apnea that's getting treatment either like through an oral appliance or a CPAP machine, which I know no one likes those, but how would your, I'm trying not to cough, how would your practice be able to support that?
And I'm taking a lot of these questions up at the beginning. I think Bryan's going to focus a lot on the neuromovement piece and some of our specific clientele. The sleep apnea, you mentioned part of it. I think it's so important that functional medicine practitioners, whether that's me as a health coach or a counselor or a dietitian or Bryan as a neuromovement professional, to make sure that we are coordinating care with people's other specialties. Right. So for me, a big thing is, right, knowing who to refer people back to for sleep studies, really supporting someone in getting a better fit of a CPAP machine. You know, it's the number one reason people don't use their CPAP machines is right. So annoying and cumbersome. And so I've picked up the phone and actually called some physicians and just advocated on behalf of that client if we have a release signed. So the other thing that I think is doing a lot of psychoeducation for people, understanding that sometimes even depression, right, that may feel circumstantial or it may feel nutrient driven can really be just from someone's sleep suffering right. or even their sleep hygiene. And right. So doing a validation of just the effects of sleep apnea. It's not just, hey, you might gain weight or, you know, it's not good that you're not breathing in the middle of the night. I think really it's kind of painting a big picture that some of the big things that people suffer from can really be alleviated once we get the apnea taken care of, including weight loss or healthy weight maintenance, anxiety, depression, some of those things.
Heart risk.
Yeah. And even on the way this works together so often is like, I'm thinking out loud now, the way we're talking about the sleep apnea and different sleep issues is like, I'm thinking of two different clients because one of the secondary benefits, if you call it a secondary benefit with the neuromovement, we say secondary because usually somebody comes to us for something else, but their sleep quality improves so much. And I've had a client or multiple clients like this, is they come to me for like an injury or like something like that. Their sleep quality improves so much that they keep coming because they've never slept that well before. Or I've had someone who chronically could not fall asleep. Right. And they just were in a state where they're really, but when they would come and work, we would work together, they would fall asleep on the table every time. And so getting the brain in a healthy place and allowing it to turn off the habitual signals so that it can drive all the systems in a more efficient and better way is a component that we would look at and want to implement. And so that, and then obviously as we consult with each other and the person themselves to see how things would go moving forward. So
I'm convinced that most of America is sleep deprived. And I don't know. Hello.
When I search through all of my documents that I share with clients from a functional medicine standpoint, it's really interesting that relaxation responses and sleep hygiene, I have more handouts on those two topics than I actually have on most nutrition related topics, because I think they're just so they're so overarching for every population, every age.
Sleep and food. If you eat junk food and you don't sleep well, it's like junk food for sleep.
Right.
And then do you have genetics and genetic testing and epigenetics. And I think that you do testing like micronutrient testing, like SpectraCell, and then probably some food intolerance testing to kind of make a targeted plan for your clients and use those tools in conjunction with genetic testing to kind of make a client profile to make an actual plan.
Got it. And I think this is one of the big areas where I love to describe to people my background. I was working in a major cancer institute here in Houston for years, and we were a multidisciplinary approaching clinic, right? We approached everything from a multidisciplinary. And so that's just the way that my brain was trained early on. And so in these moments where I'm like, oh yeah, I should start doing genetic testing too. I'm like, I have good people who do these things. And so I work side by side with a lot of physicians, a lot of other functional medicine practitioners who offer a ton of other resources that I don't have to. And in my mind, I'm like, why reinvent the wheel when we can coordinate? Yeah, so to your point, I think combining some of the services that we provide with people who already have or can go get their genetic testing. The only genetic testing that I usually run on people is the MTHFR mutation using spectral cell micronutrient test alongside that. 'Cause that's helpful for me to know overall, nutrient picture. But we don't do genetic testing, but it's helpful. It's really helpful for us to combine in our care for folks.
That MTHFR test is really easy to add on to the spectral cell. So there's no reason why, if someone does not know, there's no reason why not to do that, to find that out.
Absolutely.
And then as far as telemedicine, are you set up to where you can see clients teledistance for, probably not all of it, but especially not neuromovement, but for a portion of it to get started and feel comfortable?
It's really interesting. I'll let Bryan speak to his part.
He said, well, like it's possible. I can't wait.
It's possible. I was providing telemedicine probably 4 or 5 years ago. I started doing sessions via a HIPAA compliant telemedicine platform. And then, of course, with the state of things, as of March of 2020, I am still seeing all of my clients 2 back-to-back days, 12 hours a day, all via telemedicine right now.
Yeah.
And you'd be really surprised with how effective I think it's been. I'm even working with 3 couples doing marriage and family therapy with these couples via telemedicine. So yes is the answer, and that will always be true, even after things are done. Yeah, COVID done, when they slow down or return. Yeah, and Bryan.
Yeah, and so one part of what we do is we have where I work hands-on with somebody, which is called functional synthesis, and then transformative movement lessons are ones where I would verbally coach somebody and they would move themselves, and I would coach them through things of awareness and attention and these really subtle movements that we do to allow the brain to pick up on the information and make the changes. So with COVID and everything else, so we can do that over video or what have you. We have a lot of resources though too that have already been pre-recorded that can help to some degree in that. So adults who are functional can do that, or somebody who's old enough to be able to follow the directions like that. Since this has happened, the institute that I've come out of, partner with and train with, started doing something online where they're actually coaching like a caretaker for actually doing a hands-on. It's not a functional synthesis, it's not what we do, but it's a kind of assisted movement lesson that can be beneficial still. And so that's going on as well. That's out there if somebody needs that is available during this time until things kind of get back to a little bit more of a normal pace.
Well, I look at that in a positive way, because I think sometimes, having that time to kind of ease into something yields better results. And so tackling some of like the nutrition and support and things like that and getting those together and starting the building blocks. And then they could either travel to come see you, or if they're in Houston where you guys are, then they can just come see you in your office. So that's wonderful to hear. Let's see. Oh, and we already talked that you are able to speak with practitioners, and then how you help clients stay on track with compliance. But you are 4 practitioners in one, so we know that you can give them counseling to stay on track and coaching. And we're just going through these because you have already answered a lot of these. And then, okay, I wanted to make sure we had some good time to discuss these things. Who is your ideal client, and maybe some testimonials, because that really helps people understand maybe what neuromovement is. And then, and then the age range from infanthood to adulthood. So whatever testimonials that you think that you would like to share, and that'll help explain what neuromovement is. Okay.
Yeah, so testimonials and ideal clients. Ideal clients is kind of a funny thing because we deal with clients that are, just post birth all the way to towards the end of life and anywhere in between, whatever the conditions are. So the ideal client, common ones would be people who come with injuries, people who have, whether the injury is just like a physical injury or it's thought to be some kind of a brain injury or something like that. But it also goes from, like our son, who was, a congenital brain abnormality at birth, all the way to a CEO who's looking to just simply mentally perform better.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all across the board, or a professional athlete who's looking to shave some time. It can really be any of those things because the brain controls and drives all the systems. And so when you get it performing better, everything works better. And it seems kind of like a catch-all, but it really is that very thing. When you facilitate the conditions for neuroplasticity to have a beneficial effect in someone, it changes everything. Oftentimes what they're coming for, but also all kinds of other things that are unexpected, which is really fun.
Right.
Really
you never
great.
know what you're going to uncover.
You never know what you're going to get. And that's why we take every individual different. And one of our 9 essentials is flexible goals, because we have the purpose that they've come for, but we are flexible within those goals because we also know that as we interact with their system and their system gives us the information of where to go next, all kinds of things change maybe before we get to the thing, which is why they're actually there. It's really an exciting thing, and it's one that they get to experience along the way as well. So in that sense, I don't have an ideal client because it's so broad reaching in its effect. Everywhere from, I trained in it for my son, but then I got such amazing benefits having long-term pain myself that I was never able to get rid of. And now I'm without pain. And it was a very unexpected thing for me because I was only initially getting into it for him, and then obviously wanted to make it available for others. So a couple testimonials, I guess, would be a litany of them online. If you look up our method and go online, you're just going to see all kinds of things. People who are told
I will make sure that I'll make sure that I link those, and I can cut and paste and put those in the description below.
Yeah,
the ones that are on your website, I'll do that.
Yeah, yeah, you get like the kind of like the big story ones, if you will, people who are told they'd never walk by experts, and then they're walking. Or I saw a young girl who was injured brachial plexus at birth, had never moved her arm. I saw her start moving her arm in the first 5 minutes of a lesson with her parents there. And then there's ones where somebody comes to me with back pain, and in 3 or 4 minutes they stand up and the back pain's gone. And it's just, so you get those kinds of things that are just really powerful,
and rewarding.
They just feel like boom, and
the reader in baseball.
Oh, and then again, you get all these secondary things. So I had somebody coming for cognitive developmental things.
Right.
And I didn't even know he played baseball. But he was at the bottom of the batting order. Batting was challenging. I saw him out one day, and he came running over, and he told me, I hit 3 out of 4 in the last game. I feel my pelvis coming through when I bat now, like everything. And those are really great things because, again, I didn't do some kind of a batting pelvis move thing on him. We were just looking to drive and upgrade his system, and only had this one goal in the back of our head for why he was coming. And then this baseball that I didn't even know he played, all of a sudden, he just improved dramatically.
As a practitioner, that is so reward. I don't mean to say practitioner like for myself, but for you guys, that is an amazing reward, because I talk to so many functional medicine practitioners, and sometimes they get burned out and they have to reinvent themselves because it is very trying, because these people that are coming to them in functional medicine, they have some layers that they need to peel to feel better, and it can be a journey. And the reason why functional medicine practitioners do what you do usually is out of a personal health journey. So when you can see results like that, I mean, I'm just thinking what a blessing and how amazing that you get that reward.
Right.
You know, you get to actually see it and hear the testimonials. I mean, that you're making a difference, which is why you're doing this in the first place.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's the support we're able to provide people without seeing the successes yet. And from a counseling lens, that's where it's such a unique way that we're able to come alongside families. There's a dear couple that I'm working with, that they're young parents, they have 3 children. And when I think about ideal clients, these 2 people just kind of embody everything that I think we want to be supporting. Again, I'm keeping everything confidential, but the husband has been recently diagnosed with a pretty significant illness, and so the toll and the trauma that is taking both on his body, right, as he's dealing with chronic pain and inability to eat and having all sorts of histamine flares and food intolerances, but the weightiness that puts onto relationships and being a father and a husband. And so he invited his wife into our sessions, and through kind of starting with them, working through functional medicine health coaching, it really has taken more of a turn in me coordinating care, of course, with his functional medicine doctor, but providing more of the counseling services for them individually and as a couple. And so we're meeting for marriage and therapy, marriage and family therapy, involving that aspect of it. And that for me really just paints this beautiful picture of we're not through it yet, right? There's a lot of still happening, but it is so rewarding to see people who feel understood, right? To feel that this is hard, right? This is hard. You have 3 young children and 2 full-time working parents, and just have someone to come alongside and say, like, I'm going to get in the trenches with you. We don't know when this is going to be over, but we're there. We're there, right?
What I think is amazing too is that I can't think of how many times, us in our own family, but even some of the clients and people that I meet, they are exhausted. They've gone to one practitioner to another, not necessarily functional medicine, but just in the system trying to get a diagnosis. And then just they feel like a door is shut every time they go somewhere, and then they have to go somewhere else and somewhere else. So the fact that you're able to attack something, because that's what you're doing, you're full on creating a plan, is amazing. And so what somebody might be coming in for one thing, maybe they haven't heard of neuromovement before, or they don't understand gut health. And so you're able to kind of, as you get to know them and in the counseling standpoint, unfold and really find out what their true needs are.
As they're comfortable, right?
And they usually, a lot of times they don't know what their needs are. They know that they just don't feel well.
Very true. Very true.
So how would someone schedule an appointment? And a lot of times I get the question of, do they accept insurance from any practitioner? So as far as from myself, when I get clients that come to me looking for a practitioner, I listen to their story. I do explain the whole beauty of functional medicine and getting to the root cause and long-term and savings, and why investing in your health is important. So I preface my question with the fact that you really have to wrap your head around that first. But how would someone schedule an appointment? And then financially, I guess, what would they kind of be looking at? Not like price. I'm not talking about like structured pricing, but just, I guess, to hear it from you guys to explain that there's not a one size fits all, and
it's going to look a little different coming from 2 of us. So I'll speak to my piece and Bryan can cover his. One of our hopes as we built our website was to be very mobile friendly. And so our hope is that when someone picks up their iPhone, that they're able to go to www.thecognizantgroup.com, and you can scroll down, and at any point when you scroll, you will see schedule an appointment. It's going to scroll with you, and so you can click on that button. You will be able to click there. I think you have to provide your email address, but once you submit that, you'll be able to see our schedule, and so you can go ahead and schedule yourself. You can submit a questionnaire, and everything will be done electronically, so there's no paper forms to fill out. All that
can't lose them.
Can't lose them, and it's hopefully easier for people to do, sitting from their iPhone while you're not driving. My sessions will be pretty straightforward as far as when someone wants to schedule. Again, that's all done electronically, but they'll be able to see times during the week that they would come, and we would meet for 45-minute sessions. Bryan's going to look a little bit different. Before he explains that, I'll say that we don't accept insurance. But we can give all of the itemized coding, particularly for the counseling and nutrition piece. We can
Right.
give all the diagnoses codes where people, generally speaking, can get a lot, if not all, of that reimbursed
Right.
with the right diagnosis codes.
And then labs, as far as some labs, I know that that particular lab has nothing to do with your practice, but that lab sometimes would accept insurance or provide a discount if they had insurance. So
got it. And even most of the labs that I've worked with, after I provide the correct coding, most clients have gotten at least half, if not more, of those labs reimbursed if we didn't run them through insurance. So definitely a big piece of it for us is making sure that, first of all, we don't recommend everybody does all the testing up front. That's not my style. And when appropriate testing is asked for or recommended, that we make sure we get the correct diagnosis codes. But Bryan has a little bit of a different scheduling system because of how the method works.
In terms of frequency and things like that. So mine will again be dependent upon the individual, what their condition is, and what the needs are relative to why they're coming. Ideally, often we work in what's called an intensive format. So someone might come to see me 6 times over 3 days, and then not come again for 3 weeks. Now, sometimes it's only possible or relative to what they're coming for. It might be once or twice a week for a small period of time. It just really depends on the individual and what they're able to do and what the needs are. So obviously a person just post-stroke needs more intensive lessons than somebody who's maybe coming just because of their shoulder surgery. They kind of plateaued on rehab or something like that.
Right.
Various scenarios, yeah.
Well, that's so interesting. I'm so excited, and I'm going to study up and learn more. There's so much more to what you guys do. So I can create some links from your website, and I know that you have some resources on there already.
Got it. You got it.
And just learn more. I was watching some information online so I could kind of get a little bit of an understanding. I think I could probably talk to you guys for hours because I'm so excited.
Well, I will say one of the best ways for people to really understand neuromovement, particularly if they're looking for neuromovement as a supportive method for their kids, and it was the first thing that I picked up and read before we ever got neuromovement lessons for our son, is called Kids Beyond Limits.
Okay.
And not Kids Beyond Limits. It's on our website under resources.
Okay.
So you can go there.
I saw that.
Yeah, very easy on Amazon. I think I read it in 2 days.
Oh, good.
Passionate mama. But I read that in 2 days. But it's a helpful way of seeing how the method itself is both applied and some of the outcomes for different types of. This book focuses on kids, but obviously there's more value.
Yeah, there's really nothing in it that wouldn't translate into adults, and there's even some things in there that you can actually do yourself to feel and experience some things along the way. And the chapters are real easy because they're broken up into essentially the 9 essentials. So you get a chapter for each one, and it's yeah. I will
read that. I do a lot on Audible, and I do read too. So I will get that. I'm excited. I do talk to quite a number of people, whether I meet them in the line at HEB or Whole Foods, or I just talk about health and wellness as much as I can. And there's a lot of people that are suffering. So I love sharing new therapies and new ideas. And right now I'm not living in a large city. And so one of my hopes is to reach people in remote areas. And I love that you have a teledistance option. And I meet people that say, I don't care, I'll drive anywhere. And so I think you having a teledistance option to start with for those people, and then them being able to come in for appointments would be a great fit for them too. So I'm super excited.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing to support people like us too, Kellie. Thank you.
Well, I hope so. But thank you so much. And I look forward to getting this online and sharing with people. So, and look forward to seeing how you grow and hearing more testimonials. So thanks so much, guys.
Kellie.
I hope you enjoyed meeting Danielle and Bryan Mitchell of the Cognizant Group, hearing about their 4 areas of health that they provide. Don't worry, I'll have a description and links down below of ways to contact them, make an appointment, and then also contact me. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.